on those things, on the specifically religion as defined by the others. So it's conformity to religious practices, or the emphasis on spirituality, or Vedic traditions and so on, which define themselves as Hindu organizations. The fact that Hinduism has a celebration of the profane, the permissive, the licentious, as much as the Vedic and spiritual and so on, is then, that is something which we celebrate when we distinguish it from the other kind of Hinduism, but we forget when we try and define Hindu organization. And this contradiction to me remains unresolved in my own mind as well as, I don't know how to, how it can possibly be, but there's somewhere when we start talking of Hindu organizations as distinguished from non-Hindu, and then we define it in terms of their conformity to a certain set of practices and so on, we are somewhere limiting ourselves in defining Hinduism. On the manner in which the future dialogues can be possibly be structured, I think it would be very useful if we can break it down to themes and sub-themes and have a central problematic statement given around which discussions can take place, rather than paper on paper, because then the sort of very disparate nature of presentations doesn't sort of emerge. At the moment, it's a little it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. You have one very profound presentation followed by something which is not really related to that, and somewhere you lose track of the issues which you had thought of while the other presentation going on. So somewhere we can make it a little more structured around themes and sub-themes and central issues to be raised within that, with some kind of a paper which is commissioned specifically to raise the problems, the central problems to be addressed in the work.
Can I respond to that, or John, would you like to say? Well, I was going to say that at almost every of our other sessions we have done exactly that. There's been a concept paper that's been discussed and set the sort of terms for the discussion. I think what Maya and I were sort of jointly trying to do was exactly that. And what's interesting to me, if I can step out of the role of a steering group member and step into the role of someone who's observing this whole conference taking shape, is that that set of issues was not exactly engaged. And I'm not faulting, the other people for that, but I'm just saying as an observer, that's kind of interesting, that that set of issues that we were trying to raise were actually set aside and others took the center stage. So it's not for wanting to attempt exactly what you're suggesting.
But I think, responding immediately to that, firstly, the call for papers and invitations went much before the concept paper you circulated. So people have already thought through things differently, which is why and the call for papers addressed specific questions to each organization. And I think some of them have kept that in mind. Swamiji, Shivaji kept that studiously in mind when responding or making their presentations, while others did so in varying degrees or didn't do so at all. So it's also, I think it's new territory. It was not going to be so well charted, but
Madhu and John to organize this conference and to invite me for this. And I felt, first of all, I felt really grateful to have Tararabalu Swamiji's response. And what I learned was, I think that what Swamiji tried to tell me was I should become more proper social scientist. And probably Swamiji is, of course, gone, doing his own, work and put his vision into action. And I think we should do our work properly so that we can reach some sort of understanding or more. So I was so grateful that he never said you never understand Veer Shaivism unless you are part of it or unless you convert it. You are not being absolute, you never understand be a Shaivism. He never said that. So I'm really grateful for this. So that was very encouraging. And about you were saying this obsession with kind of Hindutva issue. I do agree with you, and this is probably obsession, but at the same time, as a social scientist, we have to address to what has been said and what has been studied, and also current political situation. And it's not only within the Hinduism. Now Muslim has to say, I am a Muslim, but I'm not Taliban, or I'm not, supporting this sort of Islamic fundamentalism, or simply I am Muslim, but I'm not terrorist. They have to say that. Even me, if I if I say negatively about China, immediately I have to defend it. Well, but I'm not nationalist. I don't hate Chinese, but just So it is always very kind of charged thing.